Welcome to MogulCast, where we uncover the stories behind the world's greatest business empires. Let's get into today's story. December 11, 2008. Bernie Madoff sits in his Manhattan penthouse, staring at the phone. His sons have just asked him how their firm's $17 billion in client assets could possibly be one big lie. His answer: it's all just one big lie. With those words, the largest Ponzi scheme in history, $65 billion, 37,000 victims, collapses in an instant. This is the full story. And it is worse than you think. Bernie Madoff wasn't born a criminal. In 1960, at age 22, he starts his firm with $5,000 saved from lifeguarding and installing sprinklers. His edge: speed. While Wall Street trades take days, Madoff's firm executes them in hours. By the 1980s, he's a pillar of the industry, chairman of NASDAQ, trusted advisor to the SEC. But beneath the surface, one decision in the 1990s will seal his fate. We will come back to that decision. It is the key to everything. Madoff's reputation is bulletproof. He pays investors steady 10 to 12% returns, rain or shine. Charities, universities, even Steven Spielberg's foundation trust him. His secret? A split-strike conversion strategy, he claims. But in reality, he's not trading at all. He's fabricating statements. By 2000, his firm manages over $6 billion on paper. Yet no one asks, how is he always profitable when markets crash? The 2000s are Madoff's golden era. His firm moves into the iconic Lipstick Building in Manhattan. Feeder funds in Europe and Asia funnel billions into his scheme. Investors brag about their Madoff accounts at country clubs. But not everyone is celebrating. In 2000, financial analyst Harry Markopolos sends the SEC a 21-page report titled, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." They ignore it. Madoff's strategy is simple: pay old investors with new investors' money. No real trading, no real profits. Just a spreadsheet of lies. His feeder funds charge hefty fees, taking a cut of the imaginary gains. By 2008, his firm claims to manage $65 billion, more than the GDP of some countries. But beneath the surface, the foundation is rotting. And then, the financial crisis hits. Here is what the media completely got wrong about Madoff: he didn't need to attract new investors to keep the scheme alive. He needed them to not withdraw. His real edge? The illusion of exclusivity. He turned away investors to make his fund seem elite. But in 2008, as the financial crisis deepens, panic sets in. Investors demand $7 billion in redemptions. Madoff doesn't have it. The house of cards is about to fall. December 10, 2008. Madoff's sons confront him. He confesses, the entire firm is one big lie. The next day, the FBI arrests him. The news shocks the world. But the real shock? The scale. $65 billion stolen. 37,000 victims. Charities wiped out. Retirees left with nothing. And the most chilling part? Many victims still defend him, refusing to believe he could be a fraud. The question is, how? The answer lies in Madoff's greatest weapon: trust. He didn't just steal money, he stole the idea that someone could be trusted. His victims weren't greedy, they were loyal. They believed in his reputation, his connections, his decades of success. And when the scheme collapsed, it wasn't just their savings that vanished. It was their faith in the system. But the crisis isn't over yet. Madoff's arrest triggers a domino effect. Feeder funds collapse. Banks freeze assets. The SEC, already under fire for ignoring warnings, launches an investigation. In 2009, Madoff pleads guilty to 11 federal felonies. The judge sentences him to 150 years in prison. But for the victims, the damage is irreversible. And if you've made it this far, you already understand something most analysts completely missed: this wasn't just a fraud. It was a failure of the entire system. The Madoff scandal forces Wall Street to change. The SEC overhauls its enforcement division. New regulations require stricter audits for investment firms. But the real legacy? A permanent scar on investor trust. In 2010, a court-appointed trustee begins clawing back funds from Madoff's early investors. By 2026, over $14 billion has been recovered, but that's less than a quarter of what was lost. The human cost is staggering. Charities like the Elie Wiesel Foundation lose their endowments. Retirees who trusted Madoff with their life savings are forced back to work. Some victims, like 95-year-old investor Renatieri Magan de la Villahuchet, take their own lives. The scandal doesn't just destroy wealth, it destroys lives. And it all traces back to one decision in the 1990s. Remember that decision we mentioned at the start? In the 1990s, Madoff could have stopped. He could have returned investors' money and walked away. But he didn't. Why? Because he believed he was too smart to get caught. That single moment of hubris cost 37,000 people their futures. And the most terrifying part? It could happen again. The system is still built on trust, and trust can always be exploited. Here are the numbers: $65 billion stolen. 37,000 victims. 150-year prison sentence. $14 billion recovered. 11 federal felonies. 2008, the year it all collapsed. And one man who fooled the world for decades. But the real number? 0. That's how much most victims have been made whole. The lesson? The biggest frauds aren't committed by outsiders. They're committed by insiders, the people you trust the most. Madoff didn't just steal money, he weaponized reputation. And the scariest part? The system still rewards the same behavior. If you think this couldn't happen again, ask yourself, who do you trust with your money today? The Madoff scandal isn't just a story about greed. It's a story about how easily trust can be manipulated, and how hard it is to rebuild once it's broken. If you want to understand how this pattern repeats across every major business collapse, the next video covers a story with disturbing parallels. That one is next. That's the story for today on MogulCast. If you found this valuable, subscribe and hit the bell. A new Empire story drops every single weekday. See you tomorrow.